Glory to God Ministries presents To the Nations of the World, the Love of God, with Dr. Randy Brodhagen.
We're looking at the book of Genesis, and we're looking at what is known as the patriarchs, the fathers, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob here coming up. And we're looking at the different people that they are. Jacob, as we know, is going to supplant his brother Esau, and the Lord's blessing was on Jacob. As far as the Lord knows our beginning from our end, He always knows us. Anybody kind of a scoundrel? Okay. Anybody want something that belongs to somebody else? Okay. It's kind of difficult in some respects to understand sometimes the Lord's ways of doing things, but what He does is He knows everything. How many understand? He knows the beginning from the end, so it's not the end justifies the means of what's going on, but a lot of times in life, the Lord has a purpose and a plan that's not understood until later on. Anybody ever found that out? And that's kind of the case with Jacob. And as we look at Jacob, we see that he's really a character. Starts out in the flesh, and he ends up in the spirit. He's trying to do things in his own way, his own understanding, his own strength, trying to make things happen. But ultimately, he comes to a place where he yields to the Lord and lets the Lord make things happen. And I think it's a classic of that. Jacob and Esau were twins coming out of the mother's womb in chapter 25. And we note that Esau was the first one out, but he was not the one that the Lord had chosen to be have the blessing. And you're going to see why in a minute, because sometimes people who have the blessing don't appreciate the blessing. They don't respond to the blessing. They actually give up the blessing, and it goes to another. Okay, is that making sense? So it's kind of an awful thing when you think about it, but it's very clear what happens here with Jacob and Esau, because we see that Esau gives up the blessing. He gives up the birthright in a very profane or unholy way. He doesn't appreciate what's spiritual, and he goes for what's physical. The Lord calls him a profane man. He's an unholy man. He's not ever going to receive the blessing of heaven because he doesn't appreciate the blessing of heaven. And that's what's going on out in the world right now. Is people, I was reading a billboard that's as I was going down Gene Autry, and it was saying that Jesus is the only way to heaven. Well, quite frankly, the world could care less about Jesus, and the world could care less about heaven. It's not really interested. And if you're not interested in something, you're not going to pursue it. Yes, that's true. It's a true statement, but it's kind of worthless in the sense that when you're talking to Jesus says, don't cast your pearls before the swine, before the hogs, because they don't appreciate it. They don't want to hear it, and they'll turn and rend you, meaning they'll come back and try to hurt you. And so, verse 21, Genesis 25, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. And the Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. Now, I want to note Abraham with his wife Sarai, as we know her Sarah, her name was changed by the Lord, was barren. Now, Rebekah was barren. You see, as we've been looking at on Tuesday evening, Hannah, Samuel's mother, was barren. There's a lot of barren women in the Bible that the Lord causes to have children, and as such, those children all, became blessings. So, Samson, his mama was barren as well. And so you have the babies jostling each other within her, verse 22, and she said, why is this happening to me? Mama will say that when things are happening within her that way. And so she went to inquire of the Lord. You want to underline that. That's very important. If you want to really understand what's going on, it does absolutely no good to lean to your own understanding. It does even less good to lean to other people's understanding. And this is why I always tell folks, don't think in your own head. Don't run around everybody else to get what they think. You can inquire of the Lord. Ask the Lord. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you the truth and what He really wants you to do. What is really understanding is what God understands. Because there's the world's understanding, the flesh's understanding, demonic understanding, self-understanding, and then there's God understanding. And I mean, when you have the opportunity to inquire of the Lord, use it. Do it. Why waste everybody's time and your own by not inquiring of the Lord? And then listen to what He has to say and wait for Him to say it. Well, He's not giving me an answer right away. I need an answer. Well, you'll never get an answer if that's your attitude. You got to be patient and believe, and in a place of peace if you're going to hear from the Lord about things. So somebody need to hear that. We all need to hear that over and over and over again. And so she inquires of the Lord as to what's going on. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. Now, we're talking patriarchs. We're talking fathers here, of great nations. The Lord gave that promise to Abraham. And so there's 2 nations being birthed here. And it's not 2 babies being birthed. It's 2 nations being birthed. You got to think the way the Lord thinks, and you won't ever think that way unless you learn His ways and understand and inquire of Him to find out what He thinks and how He does it. People usually think, well, 2 babies. No, 2 nations, the Lord is saying here, are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. In other words, the Lord again knows the beginning from the end. He knows what all is going to happen. And he says they'll be brothers, but they'll be separated from each other. So one people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. So again, the Lord knows what the plan and purpose is going to be. And so Rebekah understood this, and when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau, which means hairy. And it's interesting how they get their names. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. And what's he doing? Well, he's grasping the heel. That's what his name means. See, so say he's trying to pull himself out ahead. All right? So, what's he doing here? And he was named Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them both. And the boys grew up. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of open country. Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. All right. Man's man, Esau, more of a gentleman. Jacob, quiet man about other purpose. Okay, and so what happens? Jacob replied here to Esau when he came in from the open country famished. Jacob's out there cooking some stew. And he said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew, Esau says. I'm famished. And that's why he was also called Edom. Edom means red, all right? And he's famished. And Jacob said, swear, let me catch it here. Look, Jacob replied, first sell me your birthright. Verse 31. First sell me your birthright. All right. In other words, let's make a deal right here, right now. You're famished. Let's make a deal. The old expression is never go to the grocery store when you're hungry. All right. That's the way it works. Okay. So say he's desperate. Again, a man of appetites of the flesh. He wants to fulfill the flesh as immediate as he can. And that's why the Lord calls him a profane man, because he's not interested in spiritual things. He doesn't see the value. He's more interested in physical things and what he can have and acquire. And look, I'm about to die, Esau said. Say, that's very extreme. Okay, but that's the way the appetites of the flesh work. Everything is magnified. Everything is right now, immediate. I need gratification. I need satisfaction. I need something. And his response is, what good is the birthright to me? All right, now we're understanding from his own mouth his lack of appreciation of spiritual and holy things. Say, the birthright was everything to him. It was everything to him, and he doesn't value it. He doesn't value it. And so Jacob, that's all Jacob wanted, was that birthright, because that is the key to everything spiritually. But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he's going for it here. And so he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Esau sells the birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. Bread and lentil stew, it talks about here. Okay, and he ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. You want to circle that. That's very important. And this is why the Lord, as we understand now what the Lord was saying about the older will serve the younger, and how you'll see here a little further on that the Lord loved Jacob, but he despised Esau. And you can see why, because he despised the Lord. He despised the birthright, which comes from the Lord. It's not just a passed down father to son kind of deal. This is a holy birthright, and it's passed down, and with the blessing of heaven on it. And he wanted the things of the flesh, the things of the world, of the earth, the personal gratification of the flesh. And again, you circle, he despised his birthright. Now, for what? A bowl of red stew. Red stew. It was a lentil stew. And some bread. Jesus says, "Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth forth from the mouth of God." With the birthright was the blessing of heaven. And so what happens from there, chapter 27, you see that Isaac is old, his eyes weak, he could no longer see. He calls for Esau, his older son. He says to him, "My son, here I am." He answered, and Isaac said, "I'm now an old man." Chapter 27, Genesis, verse 2 and 3. He says, "I don't know the day of my death. Get your weapons, your quiver, bow, go out in open country, hunt some wild game for me, and prepare me the kind of tasty food I like, so that I may eat of it and give you my blessing before I die." Unbeknownst to Isaac, the blessing was already passed. It was already given. And this is an interesting thing, because the blessing was from heaven. Usually it was passed on through the dad, but in this case, it had already been forfeited. Been forfeited. And so Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau, and again the blessing is communicated through the dad, but the heart of the blessing had already been forfeited. It had already been transferred. And when Esau left for the open country to hunt game, bring it back, Rebekah says to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game, prepare me some tasty food, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock, bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies." And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm a man with smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." And his mother said to him, "My son, let the curse fall on me." Just do what I say. Go and get them for me. Now, what she already knows is that the only curse that's going on is on Esau right now. I don't think either of the brothers told mom or dad about this, what had transpired, as would be evident. But the fact is, this would seem to be treachery, wouldn't it, what's going on? But the Lord had said the older would serve the younger, and the blessing was on the younger, not on the older. And so as such, she is directed by the Lord's word of understanding that she had that nobody else had. I'm sure she didn't even share that with Isaac. And so he does this. Jacob goes, he does it. He prepares all this. She covers his hands and his smooth part of his neck with the goat skins, handed to her son Jacob the tasty food bread she had made. And he went to the father and said, "My father." "Yes, my son," he answered. "Who is it?" Verse 19, chapter 27, Genesis. Jacob says to his dad, "I'm Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you told me. All right, please sit up, eat some of my game so that you may give your blessing." All right, now this looks totally off the wall. Totally looks like lying. Okay, all right? Okay, looks like cheating. And Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave me success," he replied. "Now I know the Lord is guiding Jacob's steps." All right? But as such, that's why it says, "Trust the Lord, lean not to your own understanding. Acknowledge the Lord in all your ways, and he'll direct the path." See, because ultimately, whose purpose here is coming forth? Jacob's or God's? Okay, say God's. All right. But Jacob, he's doing it for himself. But Rebekah is doing what she did, knowing what the Lord's purpose and plan is, and what has to happen. And the blessing is pronounced through the dad. And so what happens? The Lord your God, then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you." All right, say the plot's thickening here. All right. "My son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." All right, say he knows something's going on. All right, in his spirit, but he, not in his understanding, but he's just checking things out. And Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he blessed him. "Are you really my son Esau?" he asked. All right, and this is very important because as we're going to look at things here down the road, Esau is a profane man. Okay, he's under cursing. The Lord will make him a great nation, but it won't have God's blessing on it. How many understand? Okay, this is important to understand. But Jacob is being confronted here because he is a scoundrel, basically. He's been trying to usurp, since the womb. And he was struggling to position to come out first and to have the blessing. And Jacob is known, everybody is known for some quality. And the quality that I just am of the thought of for Jacob is tenacity, okay? Tenacity. He's not going away without the blessing. Say, he's not going away without the blessing. All right. Now, in the first years of his life, you're going to see he does it through unscrupulous ways, and the way a man does. But understand, the Lord's purpose and plan is on his life. And so the Lord is going to turn him from being a self-man to a God-man, and as things go. But you're going to see that the wages of this kind of working have consequences, all right? Is that clear? Okay, and we're going to see that unfold as we go further in his life here. And so he got the blessing. Jacob brought in to him, and he ate. And then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son." Remember, Rebecca had done some things there to very resourceful lady, isn't she? Very interesting. And may God give you of heaven's dew, of earth's richness was the blessing, abundance of grain, new wine. May nations serve you. Again, the older will serve the younger, and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. And may those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Say, that's a marvelous blessing. Okay, and Isaac finished blessing him. Jacob scarcely left his father's presence, and his brother Esau came in from hunting. Okay, and so this goes on again, and verse 36, he's saying, verse 34, "Bless me too, my father." He says the blessing's already given out with a bitter cry. You remember Esau tried to get the blessing with tears and bitter repentance, but it can't be given because it's already gone. Say, he profaned the blessing, and it's already gone. He can't have it. But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, took your blessing." That's how Isaac saw it, but understand this, once the blessing was pronounced, it could not be taken back, okay? It was given. But understand the Lord is working behind the scenes here. And again, this is difficult a lot of times for the mind to understand unless you know the Lord's purpose and plan. Okay, see, the heavenly, otherwise in the natural, this is very hard to understand. It looks like somebody just came and swindled somebody out of something, all right? But, again, you can't be swindled out of something if you already gave it away, all right? So say it wasn't his. It wasn't his. He gave it to Jacob. And now Jacob just went in to get the confirmation and have the dad pronounce the blessing. Say, it's all legit this way, because it wasn't a swindle. Okay? But understand this. If Isaac was leaning to his own understanding, he absolutely would not have given the blessing to Jacob. He would have given it to Esau, even though the Lord had removed it now from Esau. And so this is why this whole operation, is as strange as it seems, is all, say, legit. Okay? But there are consequences you're going to see down the road because of the way it was done. And Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has deceived me these 2 times. So the first time he's blaming Jacob for tricking him and deceiving him. And isn't this just how it works? And the second time now, he took my birthright, and now he's taking my blessing. See, so you have the birthright, and you have the blessing. And the birthright needs the blessing. How many understand? Okay, so you got to have both here. You have to have the blessing that goes with the birthright. Now, what happens? He's got them both. And he asks, haven't you reserved any blessing for me? And Isaac answered Esau, I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I've sustained him with grain, new wine, so that what can I possibly do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, meaning you're going to be out in the wilderness, away from the dew of heaven, which was part of the other blessing. You'll live by, say, desert. He'll live in the desert. You'll live by the sword. You'll be a warring people. You'll serve your brother. All right, what the Lord had said. And when you grow restless, you'll throw his yoke from off your neck. In other words, you're going to go back and rebel against your brother. Remember, they'll be fighting. They'll be separated from each other. They won't have anything to do with each other from that day. Okay. All right. Stay tuned. More to come here. And we're going to look at the consequences of what happens here. Both became great nations. Both had nothing to do with each other. You'll see, this is an amazing character study. But again, Jacob is known for his tenacity to have the blessing, to get the blessing. And we're going to see how it all works out.